channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Kay and this is heykaybudgets. Today we're going to be talking about the debt repayment methods that we have and the psychology behind them. We're also going to talk about how cash stuffing works for both of these methods. Actually, there'll be three methods that I'm going to talk about today. One is not necessarily that advertised, but it's one I've done before in the past, so I'd like to touch on it today. This is going to be the second video actually of my how-to mini series. My channel has been missing a how-to series, and so with all the new viewers here on my channel, I thought it'd be important to go ahead and do some of these how-tos just to get everyone a little bit more familiar on the different ways that you can do cash stuffing and the different reasons why we do it. So we're gonna go ahead and just jump in to talk about the first debt busting strategy, and that is the snowball method. Dave Ramsey loves the snowball method. In fact, he builds his entire empire on the idea of paying off debt in this way. And the debt snowball method prioritizes paying your smaller balanced debt first. It encourages momentum and it basically makes it more encouraging to pay off debt. So he knows, and he is often mentions in his videos and in his podcasts, that debt isn't a math problem, debt is a behavioral problem. We've learned that debt is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge. So a lot of us know what we need to be doing and should be doing, but our behavior does something different 80% of the time. When he talks about the debt snowball, what he's saying is he wants everyone to list out their different debts, and if you're wanting to pay off your debts, the strategy is to pay the one with the least balance first, regardless of the interest rate. And that way it creates these little small wins, right? And it becomes encouraging and you're able to build momentum and start to pay off more and more debt. So he wants you to attack the smallest debt first by making minimum payments on all the rest and contributing as much as possible on that first debt to get it paid off as quickly as possible. As you're doing that, it creates momentum. And so as you complete that first debt, it will snowball and that amount will roll into the second debt and then into the third when the second one is paid off, and so on and so on. And so that's why he calls it the snowball method. It works in such a great way because when you're winning, at something, you're encouraged to do more of it, right? And so the whole point of doing some of these strategies is to create different behavior. There's another method that I don't have an image for, but it's the debt avalanche. And Ramsey does talk about it because it is a debt payment method. It's just not as motivating. And sometimes it takes a toll on people because the payoff takes such a long time. It focuses and prioritizes debt based on high interest rate first. So if you had a credit card debt, at an intro rate of maybe, 0% versus a car loan that had 5% or a student loan debt that had 6%, you would pay the highest one first. It could take you a whole lot longer, but the payoff in that method is that you're paying less in interest. So you would pay those high interest rate cards off or those high interest rate debts off to save yourself money in the long term. There's a third method, and it's called the cash flow index, and I've done this before as well, but it's built off of the strategy of dividing your balance by your monthly payment and seeing what that number is. The method is to try and pay off first the debts that have the largest money going towards debt first. So like your monthly payment, if you have a card that has a monthly payment of $500 or a credit card that has a monthly payment of $50, it prioritizes that card with $500 because it will free up more cash once that debt is paid off. The whole point of the cash flow index is to find out that number so that you can make the most of your cash flow and put it towards the most inefficient debt. You want to kind of think about it as like anchors on a ship. If you think about all your debts over a ship when they're weighing all these different amounts, you would basically cut loose the anchor that has the most weight and creates the most drag on your ship. So there's that analogy. So cash stuffing is the fuel in which you would work your methods. Instead of making online payments, you would put your money towards, an envelope or, a binder with different envelopes in it that has, your categories broken down, or maybe a binder that's full of savings challenges that encourages you to make smaller wins to pay off more debt. So the point of the cash envelope method also is to create a different behavioral pattern. So cash stuffing in general, even playing with prop money as a representation of the cash that you have in the bank, it creates a visual reminder of your progress, and it makes debt repayment more tangible. So how would you choose which strategy method is right for you? So let's break that down. The method that you choose is like picking the right tool from the toolbox for the job, right? You've always heard that, the right tool for the job. So when you want to think about what method you're wanting to choose, you need to think about who you are, your personality, and what motivates you. So do you thrive on quick wins? Do you need a sense of accomplishment? Are you like one of those people that creates lists and loves checking off every time you accomplish something, you check off that box? If you're that type of person, then the snowball method might be the most effective method for you because of those quick wins. Now, if you're more analytical and you're motivated by saving the most money, or you're that person who just really loves to plan and dive into the numbers, then that analytical person might enjoy the Avalanche method or the cash flow index method better, because it's more of a long-term strategy game that minimizes interest payments, but it's also a lot of calculation and planning, and people with a firmer grasp of those financial concepts to pay off their debt might enjoy those two strategies more. So they might lose some momentum, and if they do, that's a great way to add savings challenges or debt payoff trackers or things like that to help motivate you and create those quick wins. Several channels here on YouTube use trackers to pay off their bigger debts or their bigger savings goals, and the two that come to mind right now are Mona over at Managing Mona's Moolah. She has a mortgage payoff tracker, and you know what? I got that idea to do that for myself in my own debt binder. Debt trackers are really great to see because as you fill them out and you're working on a big goal, it builds momentum because you're able to do these little things to track your progress. And so Mona does that with her mortgage payoff, which is where I got this idea from. And I just created my own debt binder full of challenges just to make it even more fun to make that debt payment. And I gotta tell you, this has been a very painless process ever since I started my debt binder. Making those debt payments doesn't feel so, discouraging and depressing. It's so easy to just, pay these things online, but it has a way of feeling like you're, being restricted too much, kind of like being on a diet, right? So if you don't build in, little treats here and there, you're gonna lose momentum. And so a lot of that goes away with the debt binder for me. The cash stuffing works for both of these personality types. It's more about changing the relationship with money that the cash flow and the cash envelope method, that's what changes. Is that specific strategy in changing that behavior that got you into debt. So you're going to be making spending decisions in like real time with real cash, and it's a lot harder to hand over cash for purchases and expenses. It's an eye-opener. Your habits will change when you have cash that's whittling down in your hands as you're paying for things. Swiping a card, it tends to have, it just kind of reduces the register in your brain. The credit cards risk, the impact isn't the same. So you might be that person that's, swiping a card and you're not checking your balance or your bank account that often. So you'll start to lose track of what you're spending. So that's why cash stuffing is also really good for the people who are overspenders, and they're using their cards and they're overspending. It takes away that impulse buy reaction and then it's great to use for different categories like dining out and groceries and shopping. Like if you do clothes shopping or whatever too often, give yourself an allowance, put it in an envelope, and once it's gone, and it'll help you stop spending money. Especially like people who buy coffee. I know that people who go out for coffee as treats, it tends to snowball into an effect where you're actually spending more money on coffee than you are on your food every month. So it's a great way of keeping yourself mindful of what you're spending, and it puts the power back into your hands. So that's the benefits of the cash stuffing. It strengthens those good financial habits that I talk about all the time on my channel. Let's go ahead and move on from the different strategies and the personalities and what type you might be. And let's talk about my friend Rachel. She reached out to me, and I'll put her email up on the screen for you so you can read along as well. She says, "Hi, I have just started watching your channel and I love your videos. My 2 girls ages 6 and 8 also love to watch them. I have been trying to find a beginning video. Where does a person start? What is the point of the challenges? Like, why are you doing what you are doing? Where does the money come from that you put into your binders? What happens to the money when you complete a challenge? Do you really go to the bank and pull out cash just to go and put it all back in?" And she says, "Like, I have about $7,000 of credit card debt that I want to get rid of, and I would love, in all capital letters, love, for that to go away. Then I will start doing extra on my car. I already do a budget, but I just wonder the reasons for what you do, since it does look like so much fun." So Rachel, as we got to talking back and forth, told me a little bit more about her debt and how she got into her $7,000 debt. And as I was reviewing a lot of what she was saying and reading her questions, it really boiled down to this one question for me for Rachel. How do I make debt payoff more fun? And you know, when people come to the cash stuffing method and it's new to them, they're like, "Hey, I can do that. That's different. I can do that. I wonder how to get started." And that's kind of where Rachel is right now. So we didn't talk about it in my first video, and if you did miss my first video, it was just on the basics of cash stuffing, like why we do it and what it looks like. But Dave Ramsey has these steps on where to get started, and he calls them the baby steps. There are 7 baby steps. When I first did it, it was 6, but now it's 7. And the first step is to make sure that you have $1,000 for an emergency fund, and that's to cover a minor emergency that could come up in the future, right? Rachel has her 1K in emergency fund, and now she really just wants to get rid of that debt. So she wants to know where to start. And if you're new to the baby steps, I'll make sure to link Dave Ramsey's baby steps link down in my descriptions. So let's just jump into the different strategies and Rachel's specific situation. All right, so Miss Rachel told me that she's married and she's got a loving marriage of 16 years now behind her belt. Congratulations, Rachel. That's an amazing accomplishment. She also has 2 daughters that are 6 and 8 years old that you saw. She's a teacher. She does some tutoring on the side, and she also bakes on the side, which I thought was really interesting. So I love that she had already considered that, and because she's currently budgeting, she knows that that's a really important piece of the puzzle. She gets paid once a month. So as a teacher, I used to get paid once a month, but I wasn't a teacher. I worked for the state, and that's how I learned how to budget, was because I got paid once a month. So I literally had to pace out that money and make it last 4 to 5 weeks. So I know that she knows how to budget, right? So we talked about the debt a little bit. The debt total was $14,000, and it was debt that her and her husband got into just by being impulsive and spending money beyond their means, right? So, but each one, I learned that they have a different debt pain point. So Rachel hates this debt. She doesn't want it. She wants to get rid of it as soon as possible. Her husband doesn't mind it so much. So they decided to split this debt in half and each be responsible for their portion of the debt. So Rachel got a credit card in her name. Her husband got a credit card in his name. They each share a credit card and a banking account. And I believe they each have a banking account as well for their personal finances. So how many of y'all have separate finances like that? I'm curious to know. So like I said, 3 banks, 3 credit cards. One of them is used for the family expenses. One is used for his expenses, and one's used for hers. Rachel told me that a large portion of her debt, or from her paycheck, goes to the family expenses, and it leaves her about $945 for her discretionary funds, for throughout the month. So then I asked her what it is that she spends her money on. So she spends a lot on gas. She has about $212 that she likes to keep as, just personal funds, and I can completely understand that. $200 for a month is not asking a lot, and I understand. Dining out is about $180. She does have a once a week dining out, I believe, with her uncle, And then she also includes her children. So that to me is nominal. I think that that's really important, and I would never take that away. So what she's left with, and I believe she's working with a bare bones budget, is her debt. So she wants to contribute the remainder, which is about $433, towards her debt payoff. Her credit card is an introductory credit card. It was for 12 months at 0.99%. She's now has 10 months left to pay it off, and her last minimum payment was around $77. Now the car loan, I bring up the car loan because it's not something she wants to pay off right now. She wants to prioritize her credit card debt, but I bring it up because I want to illustrate the different methods and why Avalanche and the cash flow index could be a possibility for someone else in the community. So her car loan is pretty high at $43,000. She's got a 4.2 APR, and her monthly payment is $756, friends. So the reason it's so high is because she had a trade-in, but they were upside down on the trade-in. So the car was had more debt on it than it was worth. So unfortunately, they had to roll that into the new car payment. So there's, in a snapshot, Rachel's personal finance snapshot. Okay, so let's talk about the snowball method. I did two options for the snowball method, and each one is for 10 months because that's the rest of her credit card time that she has for her introductory APR. So if she puts in the $77 and the $433, that's about $500 a month that she can put towards her credit card debt, okay? And I'm just kind of rounding down just to make the numbers even. So that's $5,000 in payoff money. Well, as you can see, that's not $7,000, so she needs to come up with another $2,000 to pay off this card in 10 months when the introductory rate ends. So she says she could probably put about $500 from her tutoring towards her debt. She can also most likely put some money from her baking side hustle. The side hustle isn't consistent and it's variable, and so she's hesitant to include it. But I want to challenge Rachel to consider making $650 in 10 months, whether it's through baking or selling stuff or, I don't know, cutting expenses down like I mentioned in my first video. If some of your bills are too high, is there a bill that could get cut? Is there car insurance that could get lowered? Homeowners insurance that could get lowered? Something. Is there an extra, I don't know, cable or, TV app that could get eliminated for a short period of time that could contribute to this $650? Or could she be advertising herself aggressively and doing more baking on the side and on the weekends? So the challenge is to make more money, and Dave Ramsey does include this in his baby steps. In his debt snowball. It is right here, how to get extra money, because so many people don't have enough money to pay off their debt successfully. And so he's always talking about how can you lower your expenses, how can you cut your spending and sell stuff or do a side hustle. So he's always asking people to think about side income. And so that's why I bring it up. I do that for myself as well. And then she did mention that she is expecting a tax return. Her and her husband claim 0 in their W-2s. So they're gonna probably get about $3,000 this for 2025 back. And half of it will go to Rachel. So if I estimate maybe about $50 worth of interest on this card in the span of 10 months at that intro rate, she's gonna need about $900 of that tax return money to be completely paid off in time for that intro term to end, which is in August of 2025. And it leaves her about $600 in the tax return money. What I really was trying to do was save her tax return money. And mostly because it's so important, especially when you're working full-time and paying off debt, to have something to look forward to. And maybe this little, reward of having some leftover money is a great way for her to just catch up on some things that she's been neglecting and putting off because, she's trying to aggressively pay off her debt. I want to build some rewards in, and that was one of the rewards I felt like could be possible for her. The second option is to contribute a little bit more every month. So I'm estimating $510, which gives, $5,100 towards the credit card debt. We're still doing the same amount in tutoring, and we're still doing $650 inside income. So that doesn't change, but what I did decide to do was challenge Rachel to think about cutting some miscellaneous spending, either with the family expenses that a large portion of her paycheck goes to, and most women are in control of the finances, the family finances. This is why I bring it up, because most of us are the ones who are the budgeters in the family. We're the ones that go to the store, we're the ones that take care of the kids and pay for the stuff for the kids, and we're doing the shopping for our husbands, most likely, for the things that, like clothes and shoes and stuff. I mean, it's possible that we're spending the money and budgeting the money, and we're more in touch with what's going on in the bank account than our spouse. Now, if she was able to find $75 extra a month, that's $750 in 10 months. And she can do that by selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace, things that she's not using. If there's tags on clothes at home, or if she has receipts, things that she hasn't used, to take them back. Or she can make more money baking. She could reduce her bills and expenses. And then I thought cash stuffing is a great way to help with this right here. Tiny Tuesdays is something I do, and all I do is put $20 every week. Now, Rachel has $512 of personal fund money, right? And she has $100 of fund money, she says, because she has to live, right? And so what I'm suggesting is that she take $20 a week, which is $80 a month, and put it towards something like a Tiny Tuesday or a tiny savings challenge that could potentially save that amount of money that she could use to pay off her debt quickly and leave her with her complete tax return money intact, so that she has tax return money in February or March, whenever she decides to file her taxes, or April, and she has that money either to maybe plan a vacation or a summer vacation with her kids or a staycation with her kids. I just want to be able to give some reward for all of the hard work that she's pouring into paying off that credit card. So I just wanted to show that option for Rachel. Okay, friends, now let's talk about the Avalanche real quick. It's not a method that Rachel wants to do, but if you're more of the analytical person, I wanted to show you what that might look like. It would mean prioritizing the car loan first, because the car loan has the highest interest, okay? So the car loan is $757. She's contributing that extra payoff money, which means that she would be putting almost $1,200 a month towards her car loan. What that means is it drops the term that she's paying, it reduces how much interest she's paying, and it's also reducing the total payment, obviously, of that loan. And she's gonna pay it off so much faster. So she'll be saving $2,000 worth of interest money. Now, that's a whole lot of money to not take into consideration. So it is a long-term method though, and this is where I'm saying the debt payoff trackers or the savings challenges, that's where that could come into play, and this wouldn't feel so daunting. But the idea, it just got me so excited for her that she could pay off that car loan in 2 years sooner. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. And the last method we talked about was the cash flow index. So you do that by dividing your balance by your monthly payment. And in this scenario, paying off the car won out as well. You're sorting the lower number over the higher number when you're talking about the index number. And so it helps you free up that amount of money so much faster. And that's the goal of the cash flow index, is to get rid of the things that are binding up your income and creating that cash flow again, so that you can start living a more funded life. Really, she could start moving on to her 3 to 6 month savings and expenses. Her 3 to 6 months, which is her third baby step, right? She could start working on that. Okay, friends, so that's really all I had. Let me know if you had any questions down below. I know this was probably a lot to say at one time, but I really appreciate you being here for this. If you do have debt that you're trying to work on, I asked Justin to create us and this community here a debt payoff calculator for my channel. And so I'm going to include that link in the description as well. and he says it works really good on the cell phone. He did it for me today, if you can believe it. You can add as many debts as you want, and it also includes an amortization schedule, so you'll get to see and be able to cross off and even use that amortization schedule as a tracker for yourself. I remember using the amortization schedule on my first home, and it was so motivating for me every month to cross off the next line. And every time I made an extra payment, I was able to cross off 2 lines on that schedule. So I mean, I loved that payoff schedule, and so I had him include that also in the calculator. I hope that y'all enjoy it. Test it out for yourselves. Let me know what you think. Just to recap, this whole debt payoff and all the different methods, they work best when you consider your financial situation, your personality, and what motivates you. And just to remind you, I have some freebies. I have the avocado no spend monthly trackers. I have that mortgage balloon tracker. I'm sure you could use that balloon tracker for a debt payoff as well. Create one for yourself. Put a little car on that with a bunch of balloons. I don't know. Go to Etsy. I know there's tons of affordable, like they cost $1 or something, trackers on Etsy for debt payoff. The key takeaways are your debt payoff, it all boils down to consistency, awareness around your spending, and then creating a system that works for you. So no matter what method you choose, the real magic is from the mindset shift around the money. And you want to go ahead and, the cash stuffing is just an underlying theme for taking control of your finances again. So it's a really effective strategy. Cash definitely changes your behavior. And I also want to mention, don't forget to celebrate your victories, friends. Those small wins are so, so important, which is why we have the whole ding, ding, ding envelope, right? For our goals, because we're celebrating our wins, our tiny little wins. And it truly does make paying off debt or saving extra money so much less painful. I hope that everyone enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you're a veteran, and if I've missed anything or if you disagree, please let us know down in the comments. I know that a lot of us approach debt in different ways that make sense to us. So I would love to hear any alternatives that you have. I'm sure that people who are new to this cash budgeting method or who want to do a debt payoff would find that comment of yours very valuable. Friends, if you're in a debt payoff situation, make sure to, come over and share your wins with us in the comments. We are here to motivate you just as much as you are an encouragement to us. So thank you again for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this second how-to video. I do want to do a how-to video on savings next, so maybe I'll work on that one for next weekend or next Thursday. And then don't forget about that calculator, friends. Go and test it out, see if it works for you, and let me know what you think. All right, friends, I will see you tomorrow for Freebie Fridays. Yay! And until then, I hope y'all have a great day, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.